The city skyline stretched endlessly beyond the towering glass windows of PNC Bank's regional headquarters. The late December air carried a crisp chill, but inside the building, the atmosphere was warm with holiday decorations and the steady hum of quiet conversations. Brandy Felice sat at her desk, reviewing the upcoming financial reports with practiced precision. 6 years of dedication, long hours, and unwavering commitment had brought her to this moment, the edge of a long-awaited promotion. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, but her mind was elsewhere. Since she joined PNC in 2018, she had climbed the corporate ladder faster than most, proving herself time and time again. Every evaluation praised her leadership skills, her ability to navigate challenges, and her impeccable work ethic. She had done everything right. Yet, something had been gnawing at her. A subtle shift in the way her colleagues spoke to her. A hesitation in the way her supervisors regarded her when she brought up the promotion. She pushed the thoughts away. This time was different. She had been assured that she was a top candidate for the branch manager position at Peachtree Corners, a role she had worked tirelessly to earn. Her phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. "Ms. Felice, the regional manager would like to see you in his office." Her pulse quickened. This is it. She stood, smoothing out her blazer, mentally preparing herself for the moment she had been waiting for. As she walked through the office, passing desks where her co-workers exchanged glances, she ignored the feeling of something heavy settling in her chest. The regional manager's office was at the end of the hallway. She knocked. "Come in." Inside, the regional manager, Mr. Hendricks, sat behind his desk, his expression unreadable. Brandy took a deep breath and stepped inside, her heart pounding against her ribs. She had no idea that the next few minutes would change everything. Brandy stepped into the office, carefully closing the door behind her. The room was quiet. Too quiet. Mr. Hendricks, a middle-aged man with sharp features and an air of authority, motioned for her to sit. His office smelled of freshly brewed coffee, but the tension in the air made it hard to breathe. She sat, crossing her legs and folding her hands in her lap, her confidence unwavering. This was it, the moment she had been working toward for years. Hendricks leaned forward, elbows on his desk. He studied her for a moment, his expression unreadable. "Brandy, you know how much we value you here at PNC?" His voice was measured, careful. "Your work speaks for itself. The way you've handled challenges, adapted to changes, it hasn't gone unnoticed." Brandy allowed herself a small smile. "Here it comes." "That said," he continued, and something in his tone made the smile falter on her lips, "we've decided to move forward with another candidate for the branch manager position." The words hit like a slap. Her breath caught in her throat. "What?" She straightened in her chair, forcing herself to keep her voice steady. "I appreciate the feedback, Mr. Hendricks, but may I ask why?" A flicker of hesitation crossed his face. He tapped a pen against the desk. "It's just, we need the right fit for Peachtree Corners." Brandy frowned. "I don't understand. I've worked with our clients there. I've built relationships. I know the numbers better than anyone." He sighed, rubbing his forehead as if this conversation was as difficult for him as it was for her. "Look, Brandy, I'll be honest with you. That branch serves a very particular clientele." He met her gaze, his voice lowering slightly. "The majority of our customers are white, upper-class professionals. They expect a certain presence when they walk into the branch." Brandy's pulse roared in her ears. She forced herself to speak. "Are you saying I don't have the right presence?" Hendricks gave a tight-lipped smile. "It's not just that. There's also your situation." "My situation?" He exhaled sharply, as if this was exhausting for him. "You're a single mother, Brandy. A demanding position like this requires someone with full flexibility." You'll need to be available on weekends, evenings, whenever the job demands. A bitter laugh nearly escaped her lips, as if she hadn't already been working those exact hours for years. She leaned forward. Mr. Hendricks, with all due respect, my personal life has never interfered with my job performance. If anything, I've put in more hours than anyone else in my position. He nodded, feigning sympathy. I don't doubt that. But decisions like this aren't just about hard work. It's about the right image, the right lifestyle. Brandy felt her stomach drop, her skin, her motherhood. Two things she could never change, two things that had never stopped her before, were now being used against her. The realization settled over her like a weight. The promotion was never going to be hers. Not because she wasn't qualified, not because she hadn't earned it, but because she was never what they wanted. She stared at Hendricks, her mind racing. She had fought battles before, but this one was different. This one wasn't just about her job. This was about who she was. And for the first time in her career, she realized hard work alone wasn't enough to break through a wall she was never meant to climb. She took a slow, deep breath, steadying herself. I understand, she said, her voice calm. But inside, she was already planning her next move. The drive home was a blur. The city lights flickered past, but Brandy barely noticed them. Her mind replayed the meeting over and over, each word cutting deeper than the last. A very particular clientele. The right image, the right lifestyle. You're a single mother. Her grip on the steering wheel tightened. Brandy had dealt with challenges before. She had worked her way up from a part-time teller to assistant branch manager, balancing long hours, childcare, and relentless expectations. She had learned to navigate office politics, to keep her head down and prove herself through performance. But this was different. This was a wall she couldn't work her way around. It had been built before she even arrived. She pulled into her apartment complex and sat in the car for a moment, staring at the dashboard. A soft knock on the window startled her. Her 8-year-old son, Jalen, stood outside, bundled in his puffy jacket. His wide eyes searched her face. Mom? You okay? Brandy forced a smile, quickly wiping at her eyes before stepping out. Of course, baby. Just a long day. Inside, the apartment smelled of vanilla candles and warm leftovers. Her mother, who helped with Jalen while she worked, was cleaning up in the kitchen. How was the meeting? Her mother asked, drying a dish. Brandy hesitated, then sank into a chair. They passed me over. Her mother stilled. What? After everything you've done? Brandy nodded, her throat tight. Why? She exhaled slowly, staring at her hands. Because I'm not the right fit. Her mother scoffed, setting the dish down with a little too much force. You mean because you're a black woman? Brandy looked away. And a single mother. Silence stretched between them. Jalen sat at the table, scribbling on his homework, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing inside his mother. Finally, her mother spoke. What are you going to do? That was the question, wasn't it? For years, Brandy had played by the rules. She had believed in the system, believed that if she just worked hard enough, she could earn her place at the table. Now, she knew better. She had two choices: accept it and move on, or fight back. She looked at Jalen, his small fingers clutching his pencil as he worked through a math problem. She had always taught him to stand up for himself, to never let anyone tell him what he was worth. How could she teach him that, if she didn't do the same? Brandy straightened, a fire igniting inside her. She wasn't going to let this go. She would find out what her rights were. She would gather every piece of evidence. She would make them answer for what they had done, because this wasn't just about her career anymore. This was about every woman who had ever been told she wasn't the right fit. And she wasn't about to stay silent. Brandy spent the next few days drowning in research. Her laptop became her battleground. Employment laws, discrimination cases, civil rights statutes. She read until the words blurred together, driven by something deeper than just anger. This wasn't about bitterness or revenge. It was about justice. She reached out to an employment attorney, a sharp-witted woman named Monica Reynolds, who had built her career on cases like Brandy's. They met in a small office downtown, Monica's desk cluttered with legal briefs and stacks of case files. "You have a strong case," Monica said after listening to her story. "But proving it will take more than just your word. Do you have emails? Witnesses?" Brandy nodded. "I have performance reviews. I have internal emails where they praised my work. And I know for a fact that a less experienced candidate got the job." Monica leaned back, tapping a pen against her desk. "Even better. But what we really need is proof of what he said." Brandy swallowed hard. She had no recording of the conversation. No paper trail that captured those exact words. "I don't," she admitted. Monica sighed. "That makes it harder, but not impossible." She leaned forward. "Listen, these cases rarely settle easily. PNC is a massive corporation. They'll fight this." Brandy's stomach tightened, but she nodded. "I don't care. I'm not backing down." Monica studied her for a moment before giving a slow, approving smile. "Good. Then, let's get to work." The first strike came in the form of a formal complaint. Brandy filed with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, outlining her claims of racial and gender-based discrimination. She expected pushback. She expected silence. What she didn't expect was the phone call. 2 weeks after filing, her phone rang while she was making breakfast for Jalen. She almost didn't answer, but when she saw the name flash on the screen, she froze. PNC Corporate Office. Her hands trembled slightly as she picked up. "Ms. Felice, this is Mark Simmons, Senior Counsel at PNC Bank. We'd like to discuss your recent complaint." She took a deep breath. "Go ahead." A pause. "We'd like to offer you a severance package in exchange for dropping your claim. A generous one." Brandy's stomach twisted. They wanted her to disappear. She gripped the phone tighter. "How generous?" He gave her a number. It was more than she had expected, but nowhere near what she deserved. And more importantly, accepting it would mean silence. It would mean no one would ever hear what happened. Her jaw clenched. "No." Another pause. "Are you sure? These cases can drag on for years. It's a long, difficult road." Brandy took a deep breath, glancing at Jalen, who was happily munching on his cereal, unaware that his mother was standing at the edge of a war. She exhaled. "I'm sure." Click. The fight had just begun. The moment Brandy refused the settlement, she knew she had stepped into dangerous waters. Word traveled fast. By the following week, whispers had spread throughout PNC Bank's regional offices. Colleagues who had once exchanged friendly nods with her now avoided eye contact. Conversations in the break room went silent when she walked in. She had been marked, but she wasn't afraid. Monica, her attorney, was relentless. "They're trying to isolate you. Standard corporate playbook. Make you feel alone so you'll drop the case. Don't fall for it." Brandy wouldn't, but she needed more than just her own testimony. Late one evening, Brandy sat at her kitchen table scrolling through old emails when a message popped into her inbox. Subject: "You're not alone." Her heart pounded as she opened it. "Brandy, I heard what happened. It's not right. I wasn't going to say anything, but I've seen this before. I can't speak publicly, but if you need a statement, I'll help. No name, just an anonymous email." Her hands shook as she typed back. "Thank you. Any details you can give me would help." Over the next few days, more messages trickled in. A former employee admitted she had left the company after similar treatment. Another co-worker confirmed they had overheard management discussing Brandy's race in a hiring meeting. One message, though, made her stop cold. It was from a current PNC manager. "I can't say this out loud, but I was told in confidence that they never intended to promote you. They just let you apply so they wouldn't look bad. The decision was made before you even walked into that interview." The anger that simmered inside Brandy turned into something sharper. They had played her. She forwarded everything to Monica. An hour later, her attorney called. "This changes everything." The case took a new turn when a local news station got wind of the lawsuit. At first, Brandy hesitated. Going public meant exposing herself to attacks, scrutiny, and more pressure from PNC. But then she thought about Jalen. She thought about all the other women, black women, single mothers, who had been silently pushed aside. She agreed to an interview. Sitting across from the reporter, cameras rolling, she told her story. She didn't sugarcoat it. She didn't hold back. The next morning, her phone exploded with messages. Her story was everywhere. Banking executive denied promotion over race, single mother status. PNC under fire after discrimination lawsuit goes public. Ex-employees come forward with similar claims. PNC had stayed silent at first, but as the pressure mounted, they finally released a public statement, calling Brandy's claims inaccurate and insisting they do not tolerate discrimination. But the damage had already been done. People were talking, and for the first time, PNC was on the defensive. Then the threats started. Anonymous calls, a suspiciously timed audit of her financial accounts, strange messages warning her to think carefully about what she was doing. And then Jalen's school called. Brandy rushed to the principal's office, heart pounding. "Is Jalen okay?" The principal hesitated. "He's fine. But we received a report about his welfare. Someone claimed there might be neglect in the home." Brandy's blood ran cold. They were coming for her son. She clenched her fists. They thought they could scare her. They thought wrong. Because now, this wasn't just about a job. It was war. Brandy sat in Monica's office, her hands trembling with rage. They had crossed a line. Going after her was one thing, but targeting her son? That was unforgivable. Monica, her attorney, was livid. "This isn't just a lawsuit anymore. This is retaliation. And that's illegal?" She leaned forward, her eyes blazing. "We're going to bury them." Brandy nodded, her decision made. No more playing nice. PNC's lawyers were ruthless. They tried to paint Brandy as overly sensitive, claiming she had misunderstood the company's decision. They argued that the other candidate was simply a better fit. They even suggested that Brandy's struggles as a single mother might have impacted her ability to lead. But Brandy and Monica were ready. With every cross-examination, they tore apart PNC's defenses. Brandy's performance records, flawless. Emails praising her leadership, undeniable. The internal witness statements, damning. And then, the bombshell. Monica presented an email, one they had obtained through discovery. It was from a PNC executive, sent months before Brandy's interview. "We need a manager at Peachtree Corners who fits the clientele. Keep that in mind." That was it, the smoking gun. The courtroom fell silent. The judge looked over the evidence, then at PNC's lead attorney. "Do you have a response?" A long, heavy pause. They didn't. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. When they returned, the foreman stood, cleared his throat, and read the verdict. In favor of the plaintiff, Brandy Felice. She won. PNC was ordered to pay damages. More than that, they were forced to implement new diversity and anti-discrimination policies. It wasn't just a victory for Brandy. It was a message. Hard work should be enough. Being a single mother isn't a weakness, and discrimination, no matter how subtle, has consequences. Brandy walked out of the courthouse, the winter air crisp against her skin. Jalen ran up to her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Mom, you did it!" she smiled, holding him close. "No, baby. We did it." A reporter rushed forward. "Ms. Felice, what's next for you?" She looked at the cameras, at the people watching. Then, with quiet confidence, she answered, "I'm going to keep fighting.